It's wonderful. I mean, it's just a real positive drawing together in the spirit of Christ.
Well, I'm excited to start another mission moment, and this time we have an ARC officer, Major Greg Davis, and Greg and Tammy are appointed to the Fort Lauderdale command there, and at the same time was appointed at the same time with Major Steve and Connie Long, who are my cousins. So it's great to see you all on the phone as well. Can you tell us some about how you all are working together?
Well, there's one army, and so it's not really separate. We don't look at it as a separate ministry. Wherever there's a need at the ARC and we can be of a help and assistance, we want to do that. And the same with Greg and Tammy. They've just been very helpful in the core mission and ministry. Tammy plays in our band. Their son plays in our band. We're just excited about how the praise and worship, half of it is from the ARC's participation, and the other half is from the core. So we're connected in so many different ways, but the most important way we're connected is spiritually through the ministry of preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. That comes first. And whatever there is a need, for instance, COVID hit, the city shut down all the stores. Called up the commissioner in Fort Lauderdale and said, who happens to be a friend of the Salvation Army,
Good.
And shared the situation and said, well, how would you like 125 guys out on the street from the ARC? We need to open up our stores. And within an hour, we had a call back, go ahead and open up your Fort Lauderdale store. And Greg has been pressing and pushing that forward. But because of the teamwork that we're able to do in public relations and leadership, it's an amazing Salvation Army. The Salvation Army here is one.
Where it all kind of started with me is I thought, one day we're all going to worship together in heaven, and if we're going to worship together in heaven, we might as well worship together now. And different places are different. It depends on how much the officers are able to interact. And so Steve and I have had some interactions prior to coming to Fort Lauderdale, and so I already had a great love for him and his family. And of course, Steve's a high energy guy to begin with. So anytime something was going on over on his side, he'd be like, hey, Greg, you want to come over? And if we had something going on our side, he was already over here already. So he's just kind of everywhere all the time. And so it did. It was just one of those things where, kind of started out, hey, I want to do soldiership classes with the guys. And I said, anytime, Steve, come on over. So he'd come over every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, have some coffee with the guys and talk about the Salvation Army, and started attending church. We attend church.
I didn't mention, but I should have, Captain Morris coming in the summer as well. Captain Amber Morris there now at the Corps as well, partly because I was thinking through what all this stuff was happening before COVID and now in. But we're glad she's there as well, and I'm sure she can lend a beautiful work to it as well.
She is an asset, tremendously gifted in programming, loves people, and that little fire in her heart has certainly found a good place to express itself and to love on the people.
Y'all are doing some things too, though, that connect the work that you do.
Yeah, we the ARC, when they graduate somebody, we have a transition program where the men can come over here down the street, a block and a half.
Yeah.
And continue that progress moving forward.
So when they screen an individual and somebody, says, hey, we're almost homeless, my husband is struggling with drug and alcohol addiction, immediately that turns into somebody that could be a referral that comes into the ARC. Mm-hmm. So the ARC then provides, drug and alcohol rehabilitation to that individual while the Corps is helping the family. Mm-hmm. And so we then hand off that man who has now been rehabilitated back into a family that's been rehabilitated, and they provide transitional housing for those individuals, and then help pay with their rent and their utilities and everything else. So it's a continuum of care that starts out at the very, bottom where people are struggling, and it moves them to independence. And so we can't do that as an ARC.
That's awesome.
Alone, and the Corps can't do that as a Corps alone. So when we come together like that, we're actually helping, restore families.
We did. We had a conversation, Steve and I and Tammy. And Tammy taught me that one of the biggest reasons people have to step away from doing this recovery road is in order to get back to work and help their families along. So the connection between the Corps saying, we'll help your family while you're here, stay here and finish this program. I thought, what a neat thing. And I think in that same conversation, we talked about what things are needed for these people to be successful. And if they had these, the success rate of beating their addiction just shoots up at like 80-85%. And that's if they've got a job, if we can help them find a job, if they've got a home to go back to, and if they've got a community and a church. And it seems like y'all are working to say, how can we make sure those elements are in place?
Yeah, and it's not just here too, but Fort Myers 2 days ago, we have an individual that they referred to our program, and he has problems at home. And so with the problems that he was having at home, I ended up, calling up the officers in Fort Myers, and they were happy to help the family out so that he can continue with his rehabilitation.
That's neat.
Yep.
Pathway of hope. And men with their wives and children, and then our core people being a part of that. The men making half of the booths, over at the ARC with wood and constructing that, and then us coming together in a family fashion. It's wonderful. I mean, it's just a real positive drawing together in the spirit of Christ. And the bonding is very pragmatic in the fact that we're playing softball together with soldiers and ARC. We're playing basketball together. We're bonding with sweat on the court, ping pong, you name it. Any way that we can integrate a fellowship. And, competition is good for the soul, I believe. It helps develop that competition against the enemy. Paul talked about that, did he?
Yeah, he did. Steve, you might be the face of competition is good for the soul. Praise the Lord. But with a great heart. Are the beneficiaries, are they, how do you see it benefiting them to have connection to the Corps and the area command? And let me say too, I appreciate you stepping out. You were like repairing a lawnmower or something a few minutes ago, and I said, can you join this call? And you said, sure. So I appreciate you stepping into this, and I know you may not even be able to stay the whole call. So thanks for joining us for a moment anyway. Bless you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, to me, the benefit is March 15th, 1981, I was in the Corps as a child, and I accepted Christ there. And so I do know that there's great things that are happening in the Corps, the music and the worship and the relationship. So there's definitely a benefit to guys' long-term sobriety through connectivity. Who are they connected to? Yeah. Who are they listening to? Who's a mentor in their life? Who is speaking into their life? And so exposing the men to as much, people as we can and relationship as we can definitely helps them in the long run. Where it really hit me the most was we were having a revival service together, and we had Steve, 400 in worship during the revival. And
praise the Lord.
Yeah. So we brought in a praise and worship team that does some stuff at the ARC. Oscar Rohn come out, and the Corps, came out in numbers, and the ARC came out in numbers, and we just had a great time together. And what hit me was when we started including both Corps and ARC in the worship service. Corps and ARC doing prayer time together, Corps and ARC, just sitting down side by side listening to the message. And I thought, this works. And so, that's what really started for me. We need to be together a lot more.
Amen. It started, I thought, on day one, actually, because I was there and got to be a part of installing the longs. not realizing that the Davises were also going to be there. I thought, oh, what a nice thing. And then Steve pulled you up on and introduced you all to the congregation and kind of installed you guys to the congregation. And I thought, what a neat thing. This is going to be really neat to watch. And it has been. Praise the Lord.
I just want to thank our predecessor in the core mission and ministries for a well-discipled and mature soldiery. Because when we mentioned, first of all, about this idea of coming together, the men and the core together, there was a unanimous, let's do it. And there was no hesitation. And that's because they're into it. They're into the mission and ministry of who we are as the Salvation Army.
Yeah. And they even said, and we've been asking that same question forever.
Why couldn't we have done this before, So they were chomping at the bit wanting to do it. And again, that's from years of faithful discipling from previous core officers.
What is even more amazing on top of that is to understand that when you look at the Fort Lauderdale Corps and you look at the ARC men, culturally speaking, they are as different as night and day. And yet, when you talk about spiritual maturity, nobody sees cultural differences. They see human being and human. And so I just wanted to lend to how well the soldiery is, how proud I am of the soldiers for embracing a people that, they wouldn't hang out any other place. But all of a sudden you bring Jesus into a meeting and everybody's willing to, let's make this work. We're all going to worship together one day. We're going to worship together right now. And then the great thing is in the long run, people have this love for the Salvation Army. And then some come along and they give their heart to the ministry of what God is doing in the Army. And there are many people who have gone through the ARC who are now, Salvation Army officers and leaders in their local corps. And so we want to develop that relationship. And some will be called by God. And we're, looking forward to seeing what God does with those individuals.
My friends, and to your wives and to Captain Morris, may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. God bless you all.
God bless you.
Thanks for your ministry.
Bless you, cuz.
Take care, cuz. Talk to y'all soon.